Okay, we're on.
Hey, late night from Willowdale. We were going to do a video for a while, but hey, so many things are going on. And Clete came over tonight, and so why not? So let's keep it down to 10 minutes. And so let's start with Canada. Okay, everyone's writing Justin Trudeau off. They're just writing him off. He's damaged. His brand is damaged, and because of SNC Lavalin and the way he treated Raybould and Philpott. And don't write Justin Trudeau off. I wrote him off, and he became prime minister. Um, it's a little too early to write the Liberals off or write Justin Trudeau off. That's the fact the media thinks that way is crazy. Yes, his brand is damaged, which it deserves to be damaged. I mean, it deserves to be damaged. Do I think that he wasn't sincere about? I think he was a bit over the top in his feminist agenda. I think he was overreaching in terms of Indigenous issues. It's a very complex file, and I don't think he totally understood it. But I think his heart was in the right place. And I was never a fan. I was never a fan of Justin Trudeau. I think he's a bit of a flake. He's certainly not his father. He was a bit of a flake, and but I think I think his heart is in the right place. And yes, on the SNC Lavalin thing, totally sleazy, totally unethical what he did, but it wasn't criminal. It's not high crimes and misdemeanors. He's not Donald Trump. He's not a crook. He's not Richard Nixon. A bit unethical, a bit sleazy. No question the Liberals are too cozy with corporate Canada, particularly companies in Quebec. But really, and there'll be an election in 5 months or 6 months in October or whatever, and Canadians will decide whether they're fed up with him. And let's move on. The media needs to move on from SNC Lavalin, okay? It needs to move on. We know there's nothing more that we can learn, okay? Sleazy, unethical. Trudeau has turned out to be a bit of a fraud on the feminist issues as well as Indigenous issues, but compared to other politicians, really? And I'm not a Liberal supporter, so I have no,
It's an
I have no
unbiased.
skin in the game here. So I mean, let's go on to another election in Alberta. Okay, so Rachel Notley, NDP leader in Alberta, the premier, looks like she's going down to defeat. And why? Why? Like she's done everything. She's done everything right. She tried to get pipelines built. She can't do anything about it as a provincial leader. It's a federal responsibility, and it depends on the cooperation of other provinces. Yet she's going to go down to defeat. And why? Why? Like Jason Kennedy and his crazy right-wing whack jobs, they're not going to get pipelines built any quicker. These are federal responsibilities, and it does you need you need British Columbia to come on board, and I and you need Indigenous people to come on board, and you need the federal government to come on board. Notley's done everything right, and she's going to be defeated for doing everything right. And Albertans are going to vote for this whack job Jason Kennedy and his nutty Donald Trump style party. And you got to ask yourself why. Like, why are voters so irrational? Why don't they think? Like, why are voters so stupid? Clede, right? Brings us to the H.L. Mencken quote about American politics, Nothing more stupid than the voting public. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but
A lot of professionals actually do say that the stupidity
yeah,
is a lot more
why don't
common.
people think like Doug Ford? Look at Ontario. Doug Ford, this idiot, uh, and he's totally screwing things up. And people voted for him, even though they had alternatives. They had Andrea Horvath. And Kathleen Wynne wasn't doing a bad job, even though despite there were some scandals and stuff. You know, voters are stupid. They really are. They don't think. They don't. A lot of, you know, it's sometimes you think democracy. I know it's messy and it's dirty, but really, like, you gotta wonder sometimes, like, uh, in the U.S. election, yeah, obviously there were lots of problems in the United States, and Hillary Clinton wasn't a perfect candidate. But really, they voted for Donald Trump. Well, not the popular vote, but and people tend to have voter regrets. A lot of Ontarians regret for voting for Doug Ford, and they're certainly gonna, unless Rachel Notley pulls off a miracle next week or whatever, they're gonna regret for voting for Jason Kennedy because he's not gonna get pipelines built either. And lots of Americans regret voting for Donald Trump, obviously. So you got to wonder why people vote, and they vote for change. Well, change for what? For why? Change for why? Why vote for change when the change is worse because you don't like somebody? Maybe it's time for voters to think, to read, to think, look at policy platforms, and to look at the history and look at context and look at, I mean, why would people in Alberta not vote for Rachel Notley? She's a decent, caring person. She's done a good job. The fact that she can't get pipelines to Tidewater is not her problem. She's done everything. It's a federal responsibility. It depends on the cooperation of other provinces, like particularly British Columbia, Indigenous groups, stakeholders. Jason Kennedy's going to have no more success than she did. But why do people hate her so much? It's bizarre. It's irrational. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying upend democracy or anything, but you got to sometimes wonder why people vote. Do they actually think? Do they actually think? You know, why do people vote for Doug Ford in Ontario? Why do people vote for Donald Trump in the United States? I tell you, voters, do you actually think? Do you actually look at context? Do you actually read? Do you actually rationalize these things? Voting is so irrational and it's bizarre. I have to admit, there's nothing you can do about it. It's democracy, but really? You know, I hope there's a miracle next week. I hope Rachel Notley pulls off a victory in Alberta. Can't think of a better premier, a more decent human being to be premier of a province. And Kathleen Wynne was a decent premier. Yeah, a lot of baggage in the Liberals, you know, over the years, but boy, and yes, and coming this fall, federally, people will say, "Oh, Justin Trudeau is a sleazebag." Well, he's a bit sleazy. He's not perfect. He's the brand that he portrayed is, yeah, obviously was a bit fraudulent. But really, I mean, and not that Andrew Scheer is a bad person either. You know what I mean? I think Jagmeet Singh is a joke. I think, yeah, he's not ready for prime time. I think it was a bold move for the NDP to go with him, by the way. As a proud Khalistani with I spent a lot of time in the Punjab. I would think it was a bold move to have a Sikh as your leader. I think it was a bold move. And I still applaud the NDP for doing it. But he hasn't lived up to anything. He's weak on policy. Doesn't really know what the hell's going on. And it's kind of sad because there was a real opportunity there. And I don't think he's going anywhere. I see the Green Party making real gains in October. I really do. Clay and I were talking about foreign interference in the elections. Well, they're not going to interfere with my vote. I'm going to vote Green, even though everyone knows I support pipelines. I support oil. I support the oil sands.
I'm voting Liberal, by the way.
And Clete is voting Liberal. Clete's going to vote Liberal. I'm going to vote Green. We already have our choices. I don't go to the ballot box knowing who I'm going to... I already know who I'm going to vote for. I'm going to vote for the Green Party candidate here in St. Paul's. Clete's going to go vote for the Liberal. And is it Davenport?
Davenport, yeah.
Davenport, where he lives.
Right.
And, yeah, so I already know. I like Elizabeth May. She's smart. Even though the Green Party and I disagree on pipelines and lots of things, we agree on a lot. Windmill farms, solar energy, alternative energy. But I think I always feel I could have an intelligent conversation with a Green Party member over a beer, and we could have our disagreements. But I always I love Elizabeth May. She reads her briefs. She's a smart person, and I always like Green Party people because they read they're smart. And I could disagree with them about pipelines and oil sands development and all that, but I like them because they're smart. And foreign interference in the election, you're not going to affect my vote. I already know who I'm voting for. I'm clear. Already know who he's voting for. In terms of elections, so don't write Trudeau off coming October. Are you kidding? Like, that's crazy. And I'm not saying Andrew Scheer and his Conservatives they're going to be a formidable opposition, no question. And the Greens are going to make gains. I think the NDP is going to go nowhere. But let's look at the Israeli elections. What a nutty place Israel's become. It's become a very racist place. The far right has a huge influence. And in tomorrow's elections are going to be very significant in terms of the Middle East. Netanyahu basically says what everyone's been talking about, annexation of the West Bank. He's just talking about annexation of settlements, which are already illegal. Israeli settlements in the West Bank, which are already illegal. Basically everyone thinks that if he gets reelected, they're going to annex the West Bank. And Trump will say nothing. He'll approve it. He doesn't care. He already agreed to the Golan Heights. The world will protest somewhat, but they're muted. Canada will have some muted protests, but nobody cares. The Palestinians have no power. None. But there will be consequences. This could be very unsettling. I think if Netanyahu wins, Bibi wins, and he plans to annex the whole West Bank, which they've been wanting to do for years, that will have serious consequences. The fact that that could have serious consequences in the West Bank. I think that, the Palestinians, I think at that point will rise up. They've put up with so much humiliation. The move to Jerusalem, the embassy moved to Jerusalem, the annexation of the Golan Heights. They put up, but that one I think would have serious consequences. Because the Israelis and the Palestinian security forces cooperate in so many things. But all of this would end. And who knows what's going to happen. Yes, the Saudis, Saudi Israeli, because Israel and Saudi Arabia are one country. They're not going to say anything, obviously. The Egyptians probably won't say anything. The Turks will protest. But there could be, you could see a lot of rumbling on the Arab street on that one. And there's lots of rumblings on the Arab street now in Algeria and Libya. Algeria is going through its own revolution. All positive in a sense. Like, I think Algeria could come out on top, just like Tunisia, its neighboring country. Libya is interesting. Lots of things going on in Libya. Militias but Libya is also in a place of transition. But one thing can unite a lot of people in the Arab street is an annexation of the West Bank. That could turn the whole Middle East into a powder keg. Yes, there'll be some muted reaction, but that you never know how that could change. Official reaction will be muted. The Saudis, I said, Israel are one country. The Emiratis in Israel are very close. But you don't know what Iran, a lot of countries in the Arab world, a lot of Muslim countries, this could be a powder keg. So hopefully Netanyahu won't get reelected. And hopefully the Israelis don't make this radical move. Don't get me wrong, I don't think a two-state solution is possible now. I do believe in a one-state solution with Palestinians having full civil rights, but Netanyahu's plan is just to create an apartheid state, and a lot of Israelis agree with that. They want to create. Everyone already agrees that Israel's kind of the South Africa of the Middle East. And it kind of is. And of course, his supporters of Israel get really angry when you say that, but it kind of is. So let's hope that Netanyahu, who's a crook just like Donald Trump, is a dirty little crook. That's why they're friends. Hopefully, he won't get reelected on Tuesday's election, but we'll see. It's a powder keg, though. One thing to do what they've done so far, but to annex the whole West Bank, which is what some Israelis want, that could ignite a storm. It really could. It's dangerous. And Trump will do nothing because he doesn't care. This is a guy who's so stupid. He thinks of closing off the Mexican border. I mean, anyways, I don't want to talk about Trump. What else do I want to talk about, Clete?
I didn't see the list, so I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, we talked about interesting things going on in Libya. And we'll see what happens there. I mean, Western powers, including Canada, should have kept Gaddafi in power. Gaddafi would have been good to keep in power. Libya is a disgrace now because just like we destroyed Iraq, we destroyed Libya, and it became a hotbed for Islamic whack jobs. And now they're trying to solidify and coalesce, and their militias and former CIA agent is now trying to move on Tripoli. He's got a big power. He's got a lot of power. We'll see what happens. It's a bit of a mess. Libya is a mess, thanks to us, thanks to Canada, by the way, and Hillary. As much as I like Hillary Clinton, it was under her tutelage in the State Department that encouraged the removal of Gaddafi, and they should have kept him in power, just like you should have kept Saddam in power. Not perfect people by any ways, but it's sometimes what you don't do in foreign policy that's the best, as what you do. Richard Haas said that. Sometimes it's what you don't do is the most smartest thing. Should have kept Gaddafi in power. Should have kept Saddam Hussein in power. Obviously not nice people, but sometimes, in terms of stabilizing things, it's, Algeria is going through its own positive revolution, just like neighboring Tunisia did, and I think Algeria could come out on top. So let's hope for that. The old guy that's been there since the French, he's been deposed, and let's hope the military doesn't go crazy and Algeria has some sort of a democratic government. There's a lot of hope for Algeria. Sudan's a joke. Sudan is a joke. Horrible place. Always has been. Cracking down on protests. Vicious. And the irony of ironies is the Trump administration is trying to reestablish relations with Sudan. They want better relations with Sudan. Well, Sudan is cracking down and killing people. Sudan was never a very nice place. But the fact that the Trump administration is wanting to have better relations with a country that's butchering and murdering people is amazing. And yet, they are declaring part of the Iran military, the Revolutionary Guards, a terrorist force. Really? You're going after Iran? And yet you want to warm up relations with Sudan? As I recall, Iran isn't butchering and killing its own citizens. Iran is one of the most stable countries in Central Asia and the Middle East because it spans both. And they're not killing their own people the way Sudan is, the way Saudi Arabia is, the way... Yet the Trump administration is cracking down on Iran in a most irrational basis because there's no reason for it. And yet they want to warm up relations with Sudan, one of the most repressive, most horrible places in North Africa. Really? Anyways, it's just bizarre. The world's a bizarre place, and there's not a lot of hope here. So, we're going to end on another nasty note. Poland. So, Poland, the migration crisis in Europe is over. And that was a big thing. So the far right in Poland won. So they don't go after migrants anymore. Now they go after gay people. And the church is very powerful. The Catholic Church is very powerful in Poland. So the Law and Justice Party and the Catholic Church are combining forces to go after gay people in Poland, and they want to rid Poland of gay people. And it's just stunning. It's stunning what's going on in parts of Europe. Absolutely stunning. And you know what? The European Union has got to step in. Get rid of Hungary. Get rid of Poland. I've been to Poland. They've got tons of. I've been to Poland. I've seen all the European Union money going into Poland, the highways, everything. If they're going to go in this nutty, whack job sort of path, the European Union should cut off all funds, because Poland depends on Poland's economy is doing quite well, but they're doing quite well because of European Union money. European Union should be about progressivity, human rights, and human decency, and get rid of countries that don't. They're already going after Hungary. Go after Poland. Yeah, the migrant crisis is over. So who do we go after? We go after gay people. Poland's, Poland is a classic example of a country that's benefited from European Union money, and it's still a nutty, whack jobby place. It's like fuck. It's like the Nazis never left. It's terrible. And yes, there's a lot of resistance in Poland too. The mayor of Warsaw said this is crazy, but really, I mean, on that note, it's hard to, I know Obama says the arc of history goes up and down, all that, but really, in the European Union, you have countries like Hungary and Poland that are just nutty. And the European Union, I understand why some, don't get me wrong, the Brits want to get out of the European Union because a lot of the people want to get out of the European Union because they're anti-immigrant and all that. The European Union's got to stand for something. So get rid of Poland, get rid of Hungary. Britain's in its own crazy, nutty path. European Union should stand for something, and that's got to be human rights, human dignity, human progress. I always thought of the European Union as after the aftermath of the Second World War. It was the European project, the common market that came into place after the Second World War, and there was the Maastricht Treaty that brought in the euro. Yeah, I always thought it stood for progressivity, and it's got a lot of stress, and Trump, of course, hates it. But the European Union's got to stand for something, and I think getting rid of Poland and Hungary and saying, no, you're not going to be part of this, you go down this path, would be a good thing. On that note, how can you not have a glass of great Ontario apple cider on that note?
Okay.